Hello guys and welcome back. In this lecture and in subsequent ones to come, we're going to be learning about type and fonting in Adobe Illustrator. Okay, now what we will be learning is how to use the type tool, how to create amazing type effects, how to modify our types, okay, and do a whole lot of things in Adobe Illustrator. Now to create types in Adobe Illustrator, we have to use the type tool, and this is the type tool here. So as you can see, after I hover around it, you can see the name type tool, enter text at a point or in a container. Now when I select the type tool, we see it like this. Now I just click on my artboard and then I have a sample text. Let me just scale this up by holding down shift. Okay, now this is a sample text, right? Okay, I'm just going to double click on it and type let's say Illustrator. Good. Okay. Now there are two types in Adobe Illustrator. We have the point type, or we have the point text, and we have the area type. Okay. Now this type is an example of what the point type is. Okay, because this is just how it is. When you click, it allows you to just keep writing until when it falls off your artboard, right? And then for the other type, I'll just undo this to take us back to what we had. Then for the other type, which is the area type, it's kind of gives us a container with the type in it. Okay, so you just click the type tool, and in order to create this type of type, all you need to do is to just click, hold, and drag. Okay, so you have to drag to the size of the container and then release. Now we can see that Adobe Illustrator automatically fills in our container with a sample text. Okay, so this is just a placeholder for your text. Okay, so these are the two basic types of types in Adobe Illustrator. Now, what's the difference? The first difference between them is, for this guy, you can just keep typing, okay? And it's suitable for logos and headings, while this other one is more suitable for body texts, okay? So body texts, let's assume you are writing or you're creating a magazine or a newspaper, okay? Or even just a postcard with some text in it, okay? You might want to use this type of text or this type of type. Okay, so let's start talking about some of the modifications we can make to our area type. Okay, so let's assume we have this other one. So I just duplicated this by holding down Alt and Shift and dragging it to the left hand side. And let's assume I just delete everything here, so I don't have any right up here. So you can see that this guy stops here, but when I drag it down, we can see that we still have enough sample text at the bottom. So let's assume I want it to end here and continue here, right? All I need to do is to come here, and where we see this red box, okay, this red box, all I need to do is to click it and then come to the next place and just click. Okay, so we can see that when it ends here, it then continues with our right up here, and as I adjust the box here, for example, it then continues to go down in this other box. Okay, so it means they are working together. So that's how to do this. We when you're designing stuff like magazines or newspapers, okay, you like to use this feature a lot. Okay, so there is another way. There is a way to convert. Let me just delete this. So there is a way to convert your point text to your area text, and your area text to your point text. And then one thing you have to note about them, for example, is for your point text, when you try to scale it, you see that the whole text scales up, right? When you try to scale using the frame, right? You see that the whole text scales up and down like this, and then the font size reduces. Okay, so that's one thing you have to note. Okay, and for this guy, when you try to scale it down, the font size doesn't reduce. Instead, the container size reduces. Okay, so you see, as you can see, the container size reducing, but the font size is not reducing. If we want to reduce the font size, we have to select it, then come to our properties panel, and then just maybe reduce the font size like this. Okay, we're going to come to the properties panel in a bit. So like I was saying before, if you want to convert this guy to this guy, all you need to do is to select him, and then you see this button here, or sorry, this circular icon, right? All you then need to do is double click. So when you double click it, it then turns from white to blue. Now when it turns to blue, it simply tells you that this is now an area type. So when you scale it, when you scale the container, you see that the container is actually scrubbing out the name. Okay, it's not just reducing the font size like before. Okay, you see what we have now. So it's behaving basically like this guy here. So how do we convert this one to this one? The same thing we have to do. We just have to double click here, and it's now a point type. As you can see, it's now scaling up and down. Okay, let me just undo, right? Yeah, undo once more. Okay, so let's now come and see how we can just make changes to our type here, right? We make changes to our type on the properties panel, even though we have a separate panel for this also. Now this is the type panel. Just come to Windows, and then come down to type, and you can see that we have the characters. And when you click the character panel, you see that our type panel just appears. So you see what we have here is basically almost the same thing as what we have here, right? Now we have the character, we have the type, the paragraph, which is similar to this. We have the open type, and so on and so forth. And when you come on the Windows and check, you will also see other tabs, okay, that we can use to edit our fonts and our types. So for now, we're just focusing on this guy. Okay, so we'll be using this and this concurrently. Now when I select my text, I then see that here we have the fonts. Okay, so with this we can change the font. So if you just click here, you see a list of fonts. I just like working with, let me just work with this guy here so as to give enough room for the fonts. Okay, so you can see now we have the fonts installed on my computer, so I can just keep scrolling and keep testing out all the fonts we have, okay, to see which one is more suitable for me. So when I see a font that I like, I just select it, okay? Or if I have one already in my mind, I can just come here and then type the name. Okay, let me just select let me see false. Okay, so I've selected false. This is the name of the font, false. Okay, so I just typed the name and it appeared, right? Because I know the font and I've used it, and I personally installed it on my computer. So it's a custom font. It doesn't come with Adobe Illustrator, but of course you can install fonts. You can download fonts from the internet and install on your computer, and then be able to use them here. Now, when you click here, also you're going to see that we can apply filters. Okay, so when we click on filters, we can see that we can classify our fonts. We can filter our fonts based on classifications. Okay, we have the sans serif classification. So if we click this, it's only going to show us fonts that are under this classification. We have the serif. Okay, if you click this guy, it's going to show us fonts that are under this classification, and this other one is the slab serif, and then this one is kind of the script. Okay, kind of calligraphic. So when we select this guy, we see all the calligraphic fonts here, and this guy is the kind of black letter Gothic script, and these other ones, this one is handwritten, and so on and so forth. Depending on the types of fonts you have, you're going to have classifications of those fonts, right? So you can just select the classifications you have, and then Illustrator will filter the fonts based on your selected classifications. And then when you're done, you just clear all, and everything should come back to normal. You can even create favorites. Okay, as you can see, I have some favorites here. So you can create favorites by just hovering on the font and then clicking on this star icon. So you're just going to add it to the favorites. Okay, so this is how to select fonts. So select fonts. Here we also have the style of the font. So let's assume I choose something like Clash Display, which has a lot of styles. So when I choose something like Clash Display and I come here, you see that we have bold. You see that we have the extra light. You see that we have the light. You see that we have the regular. We have the medium, and we have the semi-medium. Okay, we have the bold, of course. So here you can see the type of the type, the types of the font you're selecting, right? And then here is the font size. You can increase the font size or reduce the font size. Here you can kind of control the distance between each space. So as you can see, as I increase the value here, the line size between, or the space size between each line is then increased. Okay. For this guy here, you can increase the space between the characters. Okay. So here it's at 200. You can make it 100. You can make it minus 100, depending on what you want to achieve. Okay. Then we have here where you can align to the middle, to the side of the artboard, to the bottom, to the top, and so on and so forth, depending on your design, of course. And for this guy, this is a paragraph. It's work best on a scenario like this. So let me just reduce this. Okay. And then when I come to paragraph, we can see that we have this guy here. So it's aligned to the left. You can see that this guy allows it to get centralized. So centralized here, this guy aligns it to the right. And then this one kind of tries to achieve a box look. Okay, kind of tries to fill the space up properly. And so also this one, but while centralized, right? And then this other one, same thing, but while aligned to the left, or to the right rather. And this guy, you get the point. So one other thing we have to understand about the types and fonting in Adobe Illustrator is we have the type menu here. Okay, we have the type menu here. So when we click on the type menu, we have other options that enable us modify our types. Okay, so when we click here, we have more fonts from Adobe. So you can click here to go online and get fonts from your Creative Cloud account. Okay, and from your Adobe subscription. And then we have the font option here where you can actually see all the fonts and with the ones you used recently and all the others that are loaded on your computer, and you can actually select them. Okay, just like you can do here. And we now have where all the recent fonts you used are loaded. We have the font size. We have a lot of other options, convert to point type, and so on and so forth. Some of these options we'll be looking at them in our next video. Okay, and we can actually find and replace fonts. We can actually change the casing of our fonts, okay, of our type. So let's assume we want this guy to be lowercase. We want it to be lowercase. When you select lowercase, we can see that it's now lowercase, right? We want it to be title case. You see that the first letter is then capitalized. Then when we want it, if we want it to be sentence case, we'll then see that it's treated like a sentence. Okay, so let's assume we have Illustrator Adobe, right? Adobe, right? And then we want it to be a sentence case. So we have it like this as a sentence case, because when in a sentence after Illustrator, the next word will start with a small letter, right? So, but if we choose the title case, it's going to capitalize the first letter of every word. Okay, the first letter of every word. So that's the difference between the title and the sentence case. Okay, so for now, let's just make this capital letter. Okay, so basically, we've covered all that we need to know for now. The next lecture, we're going to dive even deeper and learn more advanced stuff we can do with the text tool and the text feature in Adobe Illustrator. See you in the next video.